Hey everyone, and welcome for joining today's webinar. My name is Steve Engel. I'm the Alliances and Strategic Alliances Manager here at BASS. And today we'll be talking about AR Automation 101. So it's going to be a fast-paced, beginner-friendly session designed specifically for our Sage 300 clients. And in the next 3 minutes, we'll show you how you can take the pain out of accounts receivable so you can get paid faster, reduce manual work, and deliver a modern self-service experience for your clients. And with that, I'd like to introduce Peter Grachik. Peter comes from North 49, a global payments company. He is a veteran in the payments and ERP space. So whether you're curious about the latest fintech trends or eager to learn about how businesses thrive in a global marketplace, Peter will provide those insights. So definitely looking forward to what he has to say. So with that, Peter, I'm going to turn things over to you and we can jump right in.
Thank you, Steve. As Steve mentioned, we're going to talk about AR automation and, of course, our solution that provides answers to help streamline that process. I'm with Global Payments, and as Steve mentioned, I'm going to provide a slide here that shows you how we got from North 49 to Global Payments. It's been about a 3-year transitional process, but we'll chat about that just for a second or two so you get some background about where we come from. So today we're going to talk about the AR collection process. So many of you are probably experiencing this. It can be a very labor-intensive process. If you're still going through that, a process where you're printing, folding, stuffing, stamping, mailing things, well, this is going to be light years ahead of that. And even if you're working with processes where you can take a payment and apply that, meaning a credit card or an EFT payment, and apply that to a customer's record, we can even help improve on that system. And that's all in a completely secure environment. We'll touch on all of that. And the point here is reduce your workload and help you get paid faster. So that's what automating and integrating an AR process is going to do for you. It's going to reduce all of those manual tasks that you have to do. It's going to be completely integrated into your Sage system so that there's no double entry of any of this information. It's going to make life much easier for your customers when they go to pay their bills, and it's going to be completely secure in our cloud environment. So our product is called PayFabric. And PayFabric, it encompasses a couple of things. It's embedded in directly into your Sage ERP, and it's also got a customer-facing portal as well as a merchant-facing portal that allows you to do things with respect to that payment acceptance process. So here's that slide I mentioned. I would sort of talk about how we got where we are today. So the whole PayFabric product was first invented by a company called Notice. And Notice works in the Microsoft space. And they've been doing this for many, many years. I think introduced PayFabric, gosh, I don't even know when, several years, at least 10 years ago. And it's been out in the market for that period of time. North 49 had its own customer portal as well. And now we're sort of merging that and combining those two offerings into a single offering that we're calling PayFabric, of course. North 49's been around forever, been in the Sage space, well, as a company, North 49 since 2005, but the principals involved, myself included, have been in the Sage space for 30 plus years. I've worked in different tech partners, as we're called now, ISVs, they might be referred to as, were people that provide add-on solutions to Sage products or to other ERPs, depending upon the market that you're in. So in the period between 2018 and 2022, that's when a company called Evo Payments acquired these 3 companies you see up top here. And then it was in 2023 when Global Payments acquired Evo Payments. So North 49, we've been going through a bit of a transition here from one company to another company. We're now settled on Global Payments. And if you know, I don't know if you're familiar with who Global Payments is, but we are a New York Stock Exchange publicly traded company, Fortune 500. So one of the larger payment processors in the world. So a fairly significant entity out there. So you can be sure that the work that we do is going to go on in perpetuity and there's going to be support for you for the long term. PayFabric's been around for a while, as I mentioned. And so here's some of the stats that kind of reflect what we've been doing over the past several years. So more than 3,400 organizations are using the product. More than 75 million transactions completed, over $55 billion in transactions and counting. So clearly we've been around for a while. We're doing a lot of this for a lot of different companies and a lot of different ERP spaces. And Sage is, I'll call it new, but it's more of a transitional thing where it's more of a name change than it is anything else. We've been in this space for several years as well, and now it's going to be under the PayFabric brand as opposed to the North 49 brand. So the whole point of this is to get you paid faster and to simplify your life. When you get paid faster, that means that money gets into the business quicker. That means you're in a better position to plan and to forecast and do things with that money rather than sitting with it waiting in the mail or waiting on customers to pay you. In our experience, when you make it easier for your customers to pay, they're going to pay you quicker, which means you get paid faster. And the whole point of this integration and automation is that it reduces your workload. It puts sometimes control right into your customers' hands, and they can do it whenever they want, 24/7. You don't have to be in the office to accept those payments. So it makes their life and your life a lot easier and has the added benefit of reducing your costs and getting the money into the organization a lot quicker. One of the things I think that separates us from other folks in this space are that we are the complete end-to-end solution. We provide the software, meaning the PayFabric software that's both embedded in Sage as well as that customer-facing and merchant-facing portal, and we're also the payment processor. So Global Payments takes care of all aspects of the payment acceptance process, from the gateway to the actual processing to being the EFT provider in Canada. So much like it's called ACH in the US, but that's just a customer giving you their bank account details as opposed to their credit card number, and we'll fulfill that transaction through that means as opposed to by credit card. So we accept both of those, makes it easy for your customers to pay. And again, completely integrated directly into Sage, so there's no double entry by you. The more times we can eliminate a human interaction into that transaction process, the more we reduce potential errors that could happen in that. And we're all human. We make mistakes. We transpose something. We post it to the wrong customer. Something could happen to make that whole transaction go awry. But when you've got an integrated and automated system in place that does that, you really reduce or eliminate those possible errors. So the PayFabric product is available for both Sage Intacct. I'm not sure if anyone on the call is using Intacct, but we're on the Sage Intacct marketplace. In Sage 300, we're referred to, I don't know if this is old terminology or not, but as an endorsed solution. What that means is we're sold just like any other Sage product is sold. So if you wanted to buy a new module, you'd go to BAS, they would acquire it from Sage on your behalf. Same with our product here. If you wanted to acquire ours, Sage would buy it directly from Sage on your behalf. Sage manages the subscription and all of that stuff. We do all the fulfillment. We do all the support and the implementation and all that. Sage handles the actual purchase or acquisition transaction for you, so BAS would take care of that for you. And that means we've been vetted by Sage, of course, that our products meet their security standards. There was a recent study by a company called Payments. These guys are they're an informational reporting firm about the payments industry. And basically what they found is that when organizations automate their systems, their AR systems, they reduce their days sales outstanding by as much as 88%. And I think the industry standard is something like 45 days. If you can drop that down, and if yours is worse than that, of course, we're going to help improve that. But if you can even reduce that down even more, that's all great. That just means that's money to work in your business that much faster. So in PayFabric, we've got a bunch of different features, and I've alluded to a few of them through my discussion here. But of course, we do payment processing. We have self-service options, which is that customer-facing portal I spoke about. We do things like email communications out to these customers when an invoice is available through Sage, and even the subsequent sort of follow-up collection letters. And you can have multiples of these going out over time, depending upon the state of that receivable and perhaps how tardy it is. And of course, all of this is completely secure within our environment, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as I go through the presentation. We also have an API. It's an open API, and this is kind of more geared towards other folks who provide solutions that might integrate. And we've got lots of different publishers out there that embed our software within theirs. But this can also apply to organizations that might have a customized process where they're doing their invoicing and things of that nature. So you can actually build our functionality right into your applications if you have the technology in-house to be able to facilitate that. Other things that we bring to the table here, of course, multiple payment methods we talked about. There's something called surcharging you might be aware of, and we've probably all experienced this with different organizations that we work with. They provide a bit of an upcharge if you want to use your credit card. And that's something we can support within Sage as well. Now, there are specific rules that the card brands impose upon us and you as merchants that we have to follow. And there's an application process, but again, we'll handle all that. We'll make sure that we guide you through that process so that you can do that if you want to do that. Something called level 2 and 3 data. This refers to the amount of data points that get sent with the transaction to the card brands. Now, there's basic, information is just here's how much it is and here's the card number. Very basic. That qualifies you for a specific rate. Level 2 and 3 provides more data, and I've got a slide that sort of points out what those different data points are that qualify you for lower rates from the card brand. Spoke about the ERP integration already, and we do also integrate to a number of different web store shopping carts. So, to get that whole complete experience in your organization so you don't have to deal with multiple providers for merchant processing, you can do it all through us. So we spoke about surcharge. Now, this is basically a means for you to offset your processing fees. And we're probably all aware if you're going to accept a credit card, there's a fee associated with you doing that. And that's folks like us that extend those fees to you because we make available to you the whole system that allows you to accept credit cards. So Visa, MasterCard, Amex, whatever you want to accept, they have a cost to us. That's referred to as the interchange fee. And the way we do our pricing is referred to as interchange plus. So it's that cost to us with a very small markup. And it's possible in many cases, and again, there's rules that apply to this, but it may be possible for you to recapture some of those fees through this surcharge feature that we can provide to you. So that allows you to capture, I think the maximum is 3%, but again, there's specific rules and our people will let you know what those are and what the application process is and whether or not you're eligible. It's not legal everywhere. I think most everywhere in Canada it is. I know there are some US states that don't allow it. So that's why we have to be very specific about how we apply this and make sure that we're following and that you are following all of the rules, because there can be significant fines and recourse if you're caught doing something that you're not supposed to be doing by the card brands. The level 2 and 3 processing we spoke about. So you can see the color coding on the top here, level 1, level 2, level 3, and you look at the sort of the invoice off to the right here as well. That sort of tells you what level 1 data is, what level 2 data, and what level 3 data is. So the more data you can provide in that transaction to the card brands, they deem that as a more secure transaction and that will qualify you for a lower rate. Now, not everybody qualifies and not everything qualifies, but I think a vast majority of the transactions that we do in a business-to-business environment will qualify for this. And again, our folks will let you know how this all works and how you can qualify for that. So again, when we talk about our interchange plus pricing, if our cost is lower, by default, your cost is lower. So that just means that you're saving as much money as possible on these transaction fees when you accept credit cards. And again, it's really, I think in the minds of the card brands, there's less chance that this is going to be returned by somebody saying, I didn't ask for this isn't mine. When you got all this level of data in here, with who's ordered, what they ordered, the unit of measure, all this kind of stuff in here, it's like, well, I don't really believe that you didn't order this. So again, from the card brand's perspective, it's a much more secure transaction, qualifies you for a lower rate. And here's the different shopping carts or web store providers that we integrate with. One of the big ones in the Sage space, of course, is Commerce Build, and we do work with Commerce Build as their preferred payment provider as well, so integrated directly into their platform. But if you're using any of these others, we also have integrations directly into them as well. We talked a little bit about security, but I didn't dwell on it too much, so maybe now's a good time to maybe elaborate on that a bit. Maybe you've heard the term PCI or PCI compliance. The full abbreviation is actually PCI DSS, stands for Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. And we are level 1 compliant, which is the highest level of security here. So the way we've developed our software, it's in a way such that when you accept a credit card, none of that card detail ever lives within your Sage system or anywhere on your systems. It's stored in our secure cloud. And I'll show you that. When we pop into the product for me to give you a look, you can see where our screens pop up. Looks like they're living within Sage, but they're not. They're our screens. It's called an iframe or a hosted page. We just appear to be, and we are invoked from Sage, but we are not actually there. So it's all that security is ours to bear. And what that means to you is that your PCI compliance burden is minimized significantly, typically down to, I think, maybe an annual questionnaire that you have to fill out, and it's even a much more reduced questionnaire. So I don't think you want to get yourself into a position where you are actually storing complete card data. That puts you in a very vulnerable position and subject to very strict PCI compliance rules. They can be expensive and very time consuming to go through the certifications to have that. So when you partner with somebody like us, we take that off your plate and your scope is reduced dramatically for that PCI compliance. So one of the things I talked about and mentioned a little bit earlier is that, whenever you inject a human into that transaction, there is a potential at that point to possibly introduce the potential for error in that transaction, right? We're all human. We make mistakes. We screw stuff up. It's been a hard day. Haven't had enough coffee, whatever the case might be. But when you automate and integrate these things, so you're going to eliminate most or all of that potential. And again, this stat says that 34 firms decided they were going to automate because they saw this uptick in all these mistakes. So as your volume increases, the potential for mistakes also increases. And it's not just the mistake itself that you have to go back and redo it. Think about the customer service hit that you take on that as well, right? If you applied somebody's payment inappropriately or to somebody else, or they didn't get applied, something happened, it creates a customer service issue for you. So you're losing credibility with your customers, not just the time and effort it took to do all that work. So something to consider there. That's, again, integrate and automate whenever you can. I mean, Sage talks a lot about their digital transformation. This is a small step towards that objective of digital transformation. We're an inexpensive way to take care of at least one aspect of your systems, the AR automation part of it. That takes you a bit of the way down that road to that AR automation. So we're kind of like the baby steps into that digital transformation. We provide these self-serve options, and I talked about this a couple of times for your customers. So we can send links with a hyperlink to do a pay now kind of a thing, access to that customer portal. We can even set them up for automatic payments. So every time my payment comes due, just pay it. You've got my card on file, just pay it. So there's nothing that you have to do or your customer has to do to facilitate that payment. It just ends up in Sage. If it's in Sage 300, it ends up in an AR receipt batch. You can review that batch and post it. That's really the only work that's left for you to do when a customer facilitates that payment on their own. And if you're doing it yourself within Sage 300, again, it automatically creates those receipts associated with the invoice, gets it into that AR receipt batch. So any of that manual stuff you might be doing, like going out to a virtual terminal or punching it into a pin pad on your desk or anything like that, that all goes away. It's all embedded directly within Sage 300. So there's lots of stuff that the customers can do in this portal, and I'm going to give you a look at this once I get it loaded up here after I go through my rambling and put all this stuff before I actually show it to you. But they can store payment methods on file, be it EFT or credit card, pay one or multiple invoices, do the invoice links. We automatically send out an email. Once an invoice is raised in Sage, an email will get sent out to the customer saying it's there. And also the follow-up collection emails can go out as well for them. This is sort of an example of that pay now. I'm going to show you a real example of this when you get in there. So they're not required to log in to do this. Because the email was sent to them and that's a link exclusive to them, we can allow them to just do it with a click of a mouse and then enter their card details or select from a card that they've got stored. We talked a little bit about this as all the different types of communications that can go out to your customers. So number one, your invoice is ready. Number two, Your payment is due in 2 days. Number three, it's 10 days past your due date. You should be thinking about paying us right now. And, gradually over time, and depending upon how tardy that invoice is, your messaging can get slightly more, I don't know, urgent, I guess, or potentially nasty, depending upon who that customer is. But that's within your control. You get to decide what goes in this messaging and when it goes out relative to those due dates. This is basically what I was just referring to, different. So this would be an example of an email that went out to a customer. So that Pay Now button exists in that email. There's going to be a PDF attachment with the invoice on it. So in this case, with that register button, I've already registered for access to the portal, so it gives me the option to log in to register. Had I not registered, this could be sorry, that's a register button. That it would be a login button if I wasn't registered. Sorry, I got that backwards. Because I'm not registered and I recognize that, I can provide that option for that customer to register. Had I been registered already, this would be a login button, or could be, again, within your complete control, what goes in this email message. And again, this is the point about the reminders. They're going to go out as often as you need them to go out, and with whatever messaging you need them, or you need to have on that email message that goes to that customer. Here's an example of that login button as opposed to the register button. And there's a lot of reporting capabilities in the merchant-facing portal here as well. And so you can have these regularly scheduled to come to you on a periodic basis. You can go in and just do the one-offs. It's entirely up to you how you want to do this, but point is you've got access to a reporting engine that allows you to get the data that you need to get out of the PayFabric system. So with that, let me just show you what PayFabric looks like. So let me first of all show you the customer-facing side of things. So this is what your customer will see once they log into the portal. So I'm Dr. Dan Penn. First of all, you get this kind of scrolling bar up here that has some recent history that's gone on here. Here's my outstanding balance, and from here I can pay it or view it. Same with my past due. Here's all the invoices that are in the system that are outstanding. And we will do both accounts receivable and order entry invoices. So we're looking at both systems. As a user, I can opt to pay them all, or I can multi-select the ones that I would like to pay. It is an option for you to allow someone to pay partially that payment, or if you turn that off, it's just the outstanding amount or it's nothing. So on this continue to pay, basically from the customer's perspective, it's going to pop up the page here that allows them to do so. You can see Dr. Dan has got a stored card here. My Visa card is here. This is the encrypted card token that you're allowed to have to stay on the right side of PCI compliance. If I wanted to change my methods, I could select my e-check. This would be the EFT transaction, or I could add a new card in here as well, which is going to pop up our window that allows me to enter my card details that I can choose to save or just use as a one-time payment. The auto pay. So there's a few different things that you can set up here, and it's again within your control which of these auto pays you set up. You can say, just pay the outstanding invoice, pay the outstanding balance, so different types of invoices. In this case, I think we just set it up to do pay the outstanding balance on a monthly basis. So it might be something like, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, your customer says, look, you've got my credit card on file. When my invoice comes due, just pay it automatically. So you can have the system actually do that. The customer can opt into this, or you can opt in for them through the merchant portal, which I'll give you a quick look at that in a second. So that's a nice and easy way. If you're doing subscription type billing, perhaps that's something that people will do, and maybe it's a requirement of your agreement with them that we're going to automatically bill your card every month, and I don't want to have to wait for you. If that's the deal, this will take care of that for you. You can take prepayments, and this just sits as an unapplied cash payment on their account if you want to do that. It's got all their payment history and all their payments and all their invoice history is here as well. The wallet here, this just exposes to them which cards they've got stored, which bank information they've got stored. They can add new ones from this screen as well. And there's even an email you can send out to them to ask them to enter some card details so that you can store them and use them for future purposes. Now, this is not a requirement, it's an option, but it's easy for them to go in and add new card details as they want to. From the customer's perspective, they'll likely have an admin type user, and they can create new users into that system as well. And they have these different types of access. So full access, meaning they can do everything. They can have one that's view and pay and one that's view only. So from the customer of your customer's perspective, they can have multiple people doing these things on their behalf. So that's just a quick look at what the customer-facing side of that portal is. When I log into the merchant-facing side, you get a similar view. So anything that the customer could do, you can also do within the merchant side of the portal. So you can effect a payment on behalf of a customer. That's the Sage 300 one. You can process transactions in here. You've got this is all the custom reporting I spoke about that you can do in here. Sorry, we'd have to create some in order for that to work. But if I was going to create some, you can name your report. You've got all these payment methods. You've got all these fields. You can create reporting transaction types. So it's quite extensive what you can do from a reporting perspective. And this wallets feature here, this shows you all of the customers that have encrypted card or bank tokens that they've stored to use for their processing purposes. What I wanted to show you more so was your view of what we call the receivables part of the product. And this gives you a view of everything that's going on and allows you to do whatever that customer was able to do, you can do so on their behalf from this view. So just give this a second to load. It always takes a second to initialize the first time you go in here, but after that, it's fairly quick. So first of all, you get this little dashboard here with all these little widgets telling you what's going on in specific areas of the business. Here's all the customers who are registered or users who are registered by which customer to have access to their accounts in the portal. All the outstanding invoices, so you can just look at past due if you want to. Focus your efforts on those if you need to. Here's all the payments that have come through the system. Sorry, back to the customers. When I click on that customer, you can see I can do all of those things that the customer was able to do from the customer-facing side of it. I can do so here as a staff member in your organization. Emails, so these are some of the different emails that go out here. So here's an example of an email that would go out to somebody and who it's going to go to. You can resend it if you need to, and I do have an example of this in my inbox here. Let me just share it with you. Sent one to myself earlier just so you can see what this looks like. So this is what that email looks like when it comes into your inbox. This has got a login link, a pay now link, and it's got a link to that PDF invoice document as well. And this, of course, is formatable the way you want it to be formatted. So with your logo, your colors, your layout, that kind of thing, just like the emails are. So several different types of emails and the way you create them. And I don't want to go into every little button and the option in here, but some things I do want to point out are these email templates. We started out with several as a standard for you that you can start from, or you can create them from brand new with this here. So here's a new invoice notification here for a single invoice. So this is what that looks like. And here's where you get to set the schedule of when this comes out. With types of invoices that you want to do. So you would indicate which types of invoices. And here's where you will be able to edit. Here's where you'll be able to edit that document in here. So we have our own editor within here. And here's all the variables or the fields or the data fields that you can have put into that invoice as well. So you can lay this out any way that you want to lay that out. And that's true with any of the invoices that are going to go out through PayFabric to your customers. So there's a lot of different things in here. Pass-through authentication is one that you might find very handy. What that means is if you've got a website that people have to log into and you want to embed this portal in there and just have a link on it that they can get access to this, we can accept the credentials from that website login, pass them through to get them logged into PayFabric so they don't have to log in twice to get this information. Here's where you can set up that auto pay stuff, so different types of auto pays you can set up. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Obviously, there's a lot. Our people are going to take you through all the training and implementation and how to get all this stuff working. But again, there's a lot of stuff available in here for you to get this configured just the way you want it. We also exist inside of Sage 300 directly, and I guess it's closed on me. I did have it open there a moment ago. I guess I waited too long and it shut me down, but bear with me as it opens up again. And I can show you the different screens where PayFabric exists inside of Sage 300. Our Sage 300 demo instance is on Azure, so it takes a bit to get it fired up and get all the hamsters going. Let me just get logged in here to my Sage 300 instance. And I'll show you where Sage 300 exists. Oh, and by the way, I think Steve may have mentioned, if you have questions, please submit them in the Q&A tab, and we'll try to get to them at the end here. So first of all, you'll notice that we exist right in the Sage 300 menu here. And there's a few different icons in here that are relevant to what we do. Most of them you probably don't have to worry about because our folks are going to get this set up for you. The transactions is an interesting one because this shows you all of the transactions that PayFabric has had something to do with. And from here, let's say you've got a bunch of authorizations sitting in the system and you just wanted to select all the authorizations in here, and then you just wanted to do a bulk capture of those authorizations, you can do so right from here. It might be more likely that you'll do so from the transaction screen or have the customers do it. Anyway, that is an option that's available to you. Much like we saw inside of PayFabric itself, this is where we're going to see all the encrypted payment methods that that customer has decided to store. So not only can they use them on the customer-facing portal, they're available within Sage 300 for you to use them to process payments directly within Sage on behalf of that customer. So let's say they just called you up and said, yeah, you got my card, just go ahead and process that payment. I don't know, maybe they're ultra lazy and didn't want to go through the whole process on the portal itself. We also live inside of accounts receivable. So just a couple of things to point out here. So there's the standard Sage invoice entry and receipt entry. In order for us to make our functionality available, we essentially recreated these icons, but called them PayFabric. Now, for me, so I don't mistakenly open the wrong one, I just created my own folder, had my PayFabric stuff in it, so I will always go to the right one. So the PayFabric functionality and buttons appear within the receipt entry screen. If we created a new receipt here, and it's for customer 1600, and I was going to accept $10, let's say, and I can actually apply it to an invoice if I want to apply it to an invoice. Here's one that's got something on it, and if I just add that payment, what did I screw up? Oh, thought I did that. There we go. $10 for Dr. Dan. Okay, let's add that payment. So now when I go back to that entry, now my PayFabric button is available for me to do something with, right? So here's where I can, since we're in accounts receivable, what we're going to do at this point is allow for we call it a sale transaction, which means it's doing both an authorization and a capture all in one step. So that's strictly for the AR process, and you can see if there's been anything authorized, it would show up here, but I would just go ahead and process that. You know what I forgot to do is select the bank. Pardon me. Do this every time too. Let's try that again. I selected a bank that didn't accept credit cards. So if we do that process again, and this time I accept a bank that has credit card acceptance on it, we will have the option to select. Wait up.
Hey, Pete, while we're waiting for the thread to load there, one of the questions that came in through the chat, which we get in most of the webinars, is what's the implementation timeline and effort look like for something like PayFabric?
It's actually pretty quick. The administration part usually takes longer than the actual install. So the order comes in through Sage, of course, and then they have to get the order into us. So BAS submits the order to Sage, they submit it to us. We get that taken care of. That's not long. It might only take a few days to get that done. But as far as the implementation itself, to give an elapsed time frame, you're probably looking at, I would say, count on a month. It's probably going to be faster than that, but just to allow for the admin and coordinating schedules and all of that kind of thing. There's two things that we're really dealing with here. There's a software element and then the merchant account that we would get you set up for. So there's an application process for the merchant account as well that our team will take you through. And that might take a few days to a week to get through that process. So a couple of weeks to a month, I think you can be up and running.
Okay, that's great. So
Let
not
me
too
try
long
a
at all.
different thing here. Oh yeah, looks like I did something. I don't know what it was, but anyway. So now I'm in the invoice entry side of things. So on the receipt entry side, hopefully you got the point. I screwed something up and caused Sage to freeze. But the same holds true within the invoice entry side of things. So if I'm going to create a new invoice, it would be very similar, right? All right, so let's add that one. And we'll go back to that line item here. And now you can see that the PayFabric button is lit up here. And again, I can take that or affect that payment right within here. And I'm going to screw it up again by clicking it multiple times. So at any rate, sorry, slow internet speed is my issue today, I think. So anyway, we live inside the PayFabric receipt entry screen, the invoice entry screen. We also exist inside of order entry. So very much like we talked about for accounts receivable, we've got shipment entry and invoice entry. We've created our own screens here that do the same thing. So if your process, if you're shipping products, is first of all, we'll just take the order and we'll take an authorization on that order, meaning we'll authorize the credit card for the amount I need for that order. We'll actually capture the funds through the shipment process. That's why we have it in both places. So if you're doing it directly on the order, you can, if you want to, directly capture those funds on that order. I know sometimes in a custom environment where it's like, I'm not even going to start building this thing until I've been paid. I understand. You'll probably want to get the funds right away before you start to do that. If you're just shipping goods, you have an inventory, you might have a process that says, I take the order, then I ship it, and different people are responsible for those different aspects, for that separation of duty, for audit control and that type of thing. We support it in both areas. So support it both in the order entry side of things and in the shipment entry side of things. So you can authorize and capture all in one step, or do the authorization first and the capture during the shipment entry process. So that's essentially where we're existing inside of Sage. So that means that you and your staff can process directly within Sage. Or if you want to take it one step further and allow your customers to make those payments online, eliminate that whole transactional burden from your staff, then you expose that customer portal to them, either with that pay link, allowing them to log into the portal and do it all themselves. I think that pretty much sums up most of the stuff I wanted to chat about from a product perspective. Steve, have any more questions come in?
We did have a couple more questions come in. Just one here around what is the training and support provided by PayFabric?
Yeah, our team does that. I spoke a little bit about this earlier. So our onboarding process includes us getting everything set up and installed and configured properly for you. And then our team takes you through all the different features and functions and the stuff you need to do in order to get your systems working appropriately. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Well, I mean, it's all part of the onboarding process. There's no additional cost for that. It's just included in the cost of the subscription of the software.
Okay, that's great. And then you probably touched on this as well, but I mean, does PayFabric support multiple payment options and currencies?
Yes, yeah, we support what Sage supports. So Sage 300, of course, is a natively multi-currency system, so that's not an issue. What you may find if you're doing, I know a lot of Canadian companies are doing this, they'll have Canadian customers and U.S. customers. The U.S. customers will be on a U.S. price list. Canadians will be on a Canadian price list. You may have different bank accounts. So we would have different merchant accounts, one for the U.S., one for the Canadian, so that everything stays separated properly. It's just a little bit of additional administration to deal with that, but it's not a huge burden. It's pretty standard practice.
Okay, that's great. And then one other question here around what kind of ROI or efficiency gains can we expect after implementing PayFabric?
Well, that's interesting. I did have a couple more slides here, Steve, that I can actually share if you like. That actually speaks to that. If you just let me do that
Sure.
again, and I can show you what these guys are saying about us. Of course, it's all good stuff. I wouldn't put bad stuff up here. So,
Now you mentioned,
there
yeah.
is an organization. There is an organization out there that many of you are probably familiar with called Orchid Business Systems out of Australia, and they're another Sage ISV and probably one of the biggest and most used, I would think. They use our portal for their partners to renew their customers' maintenance plans and things of that nature. And so for them, they've said that they've saved at least 2 days a month on their process by doing this. And it made it so much easier. We've heard from partners who are logging into this and using it, saying that life is so much easier using this portal than it ever was before with the process they had earlier. Another customer that we have is a pharmacy. They're a long-term care pharmacy. And you can see some of the stats that they're citing here, but they have told us that they have saved or being able to redeploy a minimum of one full-time equivalent staff member because their process was so manual and so tedious that phone calls and paper and everything else, they streamlined things dramatically. So now they were able to reallocate that person into other tasks. So most people that I hear that I talk to are like, there's just not enough hours in the day to do all the work I have to do. So if we can offload, a percentage of that workload for you, that just frees up more time for you to do more stuff. And then of course, all the spin-off benefits we spoke about earlier, getting paid faster, reducing your DSO, cutting down that workload, cutting out all that paper printing if you're still doing that. You start to add all that stuff up. And I think halfway through the first month for these guys, it was paid for. Depending upon
Wow.
how many invoices you do every month, maybe it's going to take you 1 month to pay for this. So the ROI is almost immediate on this product. It's inexpensive. It's under $3,000 a year for the
Wow.
software.
That's fantastic. Okay. Um, I don't see any other questions coming in. So Pete, thanks for taking the time today to share the information with us.
My
And
pleasure.
walk through a quick demo there of PayFabric. Great looking product, lots of options, lots of flexibility, lots of time savings there for sure. And thanks everyone for joining. If you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your BAS account manager, or you can drop us a line at marketing@bas.com, and we'll be sure to answer those questions and connect you with Pete and the PayFabric team. So with that, everyone, thanks and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks all.
Bye for now.